All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us on our bittersweet day of our last workshop of this program year. So we started back in August where we went through some foundational things when it comes to this social emotional learning piece. And now we are on the last one with promoting responsibility and leadership. So just making sure everybody's in the right room. This is Metro United Way's Youth Success Network, Training and Professional Development. And today's topic is promoting responsibility and leadership. So if you could, in true Youth Success Network fashion, put your name and the organization that you are representing in the chat, please. Your name and the organization that you are representing in the chat. If you could do so, please. And a couple of announcements. So and we haven't sent the invitation out, but we will be getting this out this week. On May 25th, here at our office at 334 East Broadway, we will be having our end of year convening where we convene all of our youth success partners. So anybody who is in the Youth Success Network, you'll be invited to come to our office. We have our community meeting room, so we'll have free food for you all. We'll have some representatives from the school system to come and talk about all of the many changes that are going on to making sure that we are equipped with knowledge and also the resources to be able to help our families that we are impacting to be able to make this a seamless transition for them. So we have representatives from JTPS, and of course, we'll also have our Metro United Way folks that will also be there too, and also colleagues that are alongside you all doing the work. So please, again, that will be May 25th at 10 a.m., but we will send a formal invite to you all for that. So yeah, that is all of the information that I have. I will go ahead and hand it off to Miss Renee Abdullah, our fearless and wonderful, dynamic host and facilitator of these workshops. She has been phenomenal. Although she came in on the second half of this, it has been a pleasure having you. Super excited that you are still here with us. Hopefully we'll get to see you next year for the next round of these things. But thank you so much. I will hand it over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Antonio, and good morning to everyone on the call. I'm not sure if I have had any of you all before, and if so, welcome back. If not, welcome for the first time. As Antonio said, this is the last one in our series, so it's exciting to close up the SEL workshop folder. So with that being said, before I get started, if at any time you are having any difficulty hearing me, if I'm going in and out, just feel free to come off of mute and let me know, or throw it in the chat. I know Antonio is watching the chat for me. I'm not in the chat all the time, but go ahead and feel free to come off of mute anytime and just let me know. Another thing Antonio has put in the chat is going to be the workbook that we're going to use today, but I'll go over that in a little bit anyway. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully you all can see my PowerPoint. We're going to come back to that second slide later. But another thing, if you see me looking over here, it's because I'm on double screen. And every time I'm on double screen, it shares the PowerPoint over here. So I will be here, but I'm focused. I'm not looking at something off to the side. I am here with you all today. So where we are focused right now is that we are talking about preparing children to thrive, and this is the book that all of this is based off of. And you can get a free copy of that book at selpractices.org. But for today, we are going to be focusing on that responsibility section of it. So when it comes to social emotional learning, the pyramid of program quality, this is where all of our SEL practices fall in on that pyramid. So if you're familiar with the pyramid, we when we don't talk about the SEL, when we just talk about quality programming, we talk about having that safe space and that supportive environment, and then that interactive environment, and then the engagement all the way at the top. So when we talk about SEL practices and social emotional learning, this is everything and where it exists on this pyramid as it relates to the different spaces. So when it comes to a safe space, we want to make sure that we create safe spaces for our youth, both physically and emotionally safe. When we talk about the supportive environment, That is where we come in and we talk about that, fostering that growth mindset and getting away from that fixed mindset. You know, I'm born with it and therefore that's what I can do, but more so that growth mindset where I can continue to learn. That's where we also incorporate that scaffolding learning and also that emotion coaching. So creating that sense of belonging and everything else for our youth when it comes to the environment that they are in. The next level up is that interactive environment. So this is where we really cultivate that empathy and we promote that responsibility and leadership with our youth, letting our youth lead and mentor others, and also promoting that fostering teamwork. So that's something that we covered last month as one of the SEL brackets. And last but not least, the very tip of it is creating that engaging environment. So this is where we support the plans and goals that our youth create and youth interests. So making sure that we are incorporating youth voice into what we are doing, and also that furthering learning, that challenge, that planning, that choice, that reflection, and all of those pieces that exist when it comes to an engaging environment with our youth. So as far as where we are today, we have gone through all of these, whether we were together or whether my colleague Siobhan was here before with you all. You all started out with that essentials of an SEL framework and we kind of built off of it. For today, we are still under that, and last but not least, under that foundations and self-awareness of the social development. So today we are going to focus on that responsibility, like I said. So how do we promote responsibility and leadership within our youth? What does that look like? What does that mean for them? Do we just give it to them and give them some leadership opportunities and let them go? Or what does that mean? Where do they need us in that cycle? So this part right here just shows the parallel process between what we talked about with that SEL pyramid and all of the different essentials that come under the SEL framework as well. And you'll see how it kind of fits a little bit later. So let me jump back here because I was giving people a few minutes to come on. I wanted to do a little introductions and icebreakers, see who we have on the call. When it comes to you, I just want you to state your name, which organization you're with, what position you're with, what kind of position you have. So let me know what you do, what grades you work with, or what ages you work with. And then you're going to answer the question that pops up on the wheel. So just to give you all, I like to share any kind of free resources I found out about. This is another free resource. This is called Wheel of Names. You can put anything on it. You can put names, you can put questions, whatever. It's completely free. And then you can just have them spin and answer the question, or you can have it spin and pick a youth in the classroom to share out or something like that. But just as a side note, this is called Wheel of Names. So what I'm going to do is I am now going to share it in theory, right? Let's see. And new share, boom. Hopefully everyone can see the wheel on their side. If so, just give me a thumbs up for my people who will have their cameras on. Yay, thank you. All right, so I will model it first, and then I'm going to kick it over to Antonio, and then he can kick it to whoever he wants to after that. So my name is Renee Abdullah. I'm with Platinum Touch Solutions. I am your trainer for today. I work with people all over Washington, D.C. and in other states and everything, just helping with professional development when it comes to youth development. So I am going to get my icebreaker question for myself. And my question is, we can cut out the sounds. What is your biggest pet peeve? My biggest pet peeve, and it looks like I'm frozen, but hopefully you all can still hear me. My biggest pet peeve is when people are carrying food out from takeout or carrying leftovers, and they're carrying the bag and it's slightly tilted and the juice starts dripping out the bottom. I don't know what it is. I don't care if I know you, if you're a complete stranger on the street. I literally want to come and just straighten your food, like just hold it like this. I don't let my kids touch my leftovers when we leave the restaurant because they'll just be swinging, and I don't know, it just really gets to me. So that's my biggest pet peeve. Antonio, I'm gonna kick it over to you.
Alrighty, am I waiting on you to give it a spin?
No, you can go ahead and just say who
Oh,
you
that's right.
are.
Yes.
Who you work
Hello,
with, your
my name
position. You
is
know what? I'm gonna explain
Antonio.
it while you go, because go for it.
Got you. Okay, my name is Antonio Aritas. I am the manager of educational supports with Metro United Way. I help to oversee the Youth Success Network. A lot of our partners are on the call. Good morning to everybody. Okay, ready for my question?
And
What
your
is
question, go ahead.
your favorite songs from your teenage years that you still rock out to? All right, so my teenage years was in the early 2000s, so there was like, snapping your fingers and leaning with it and rocking with it and stuff like that. So, what's crazy? Like a song that I was just listening to like the other day was the Chicken Head. It had the dance and everything with it, and by Project Pat. So, yeah, I'd say Chicken Head. But Ashley, I guess you know what I'm talking about, huh? So yeah, that's mine right there.
You took it way back with that one, Antonio. Who do you want to kick it over to? Go ahead and pick somebody.
Guess I will go ahead and kick it over to Miss Ashley.
Okay, well, hi, my name is Ashley Mack. I am the Senior Director of Education for Junior Achievement of Kentuckiana. Junior Achievement, we focus basically in 3 buckets. So entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and work readiness. Historically, we have worked with students from kindergarten through 12th grade, and then JAUSA just announced last year that we have an expansion to reach students up to the age of 25. So you'll see us doing a lot more community outreach initiatives. And so I'm just happy to be here for the training. Okay, my question, beach, that's just, I have to read the other options. Yeah, hot, sand, water, that's me. So I guess I will kick it to, is it Maria? Okay.
It's Mariah. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mariah Levine Garcia. I'm the Youth Education and Enrichment Manager with the Backside Learning Center. So we're a small nonprofit located on the backside grounds of Churchill Downs Racetrack, but we are an independent organization. So I'm on here with my colleague Dahlia. So I'll probably kick it to you, Dahlia, when I answer my question. But we work with the families who take care of the thoroughbred racehorses on the backside. So this is a really busy time of year for us and the population of folks that we serve. If you could live anywhere in the world for a year, where would you live? I think it'd be fun to live in Japan. Really, really far away, really different culture, and I'd love to explore it. Okay, Dahlia, I'll send it to you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Dahlia. I am from the VLC as well, and I am the Youth Development Assistant. So yeah. Ooh. I think as a child, I wanted to be a lot of different things. But I think a musician was one of the my biggest dreams. So yeah. And I'm passing it to Laura.
Hi, excuse me, I'm Laura Yonkin. I was a JCPS educator for 30 years, 28 as a high school librarian. Now I've retired and this is stay home, but I'm in peace education now and I love it, and teaching conflict resolution skills to kids K through about 7th grade so far. Oh, what am I going to do when we retire? Well, you just heard. Well, I travel a lot, but basically, yeah, I've gone back and I'm teaching peace education.
That was a complete coincidence, Laura. How that ended up popping up for you.
Well, what I found was, like, with no structure, I don't get anything done. So it's nice to work a few days a week and then play a week. So thanks for asking.
Who do you want to pass it to, Laura?
Oh, I have to look at the list of participants.
Yes.
Oh, and my computer's just not being very cooperative.
All right, let's see.
If you wouldn't mind picking for me, yeah, it's not coming up.
How about Whitney? Did you go yet? I don't.
Thank you.
Whitney, I can see you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. I'll tell you what, we'll come back to Whitney. Let's go to Icy. ICF.
Hello, my name is Iserene Ford, and I am I'm moving into a new role. I work at Change Today, Change Tomorrow, and I'm moving into program and fundraising management. And I want to implement some more programming with the kids that with the kids of the families that we serve. What is your favorite vacation spot? Anywhere with the beach.
Thank you. It looks like everybody going to the beach. I'm going to the beach too. Who has not gone? Miss Q?
It'll help if I unmic.
Oh, there we go.
All right. No, just talking, I'm just in the mic. All right, I'm Quantana Sanders. I'm the Community Outreach Coordinator here at the Catholic Enrichment Center. We service infant through seniors, but youth side, we do K through 12, some college programs and education workshops, retreats, and things like that for our youth. Ongoing, we have tutoring during the school year, dance program, Girl Scouts, and different things like that. Oh, got the hobby question, yay. My favorite hobby is anything creating and crafting. I am all hands on deck with being creative and doing crafts and things.
Cool. Thank you, Miss Q. Okay, Jaquita. I don't think you went yet.
Hello, good morning. My name is Jaquita Warfield. I am the Chief Operating Officer over at Options to Success Family Services. We are a wraparound women, children, and adolescent growth facility. We provide case management, individual therapy, group therapy. We are a computer literacy site and also a GED testing site. My favorite cartoon character would have to be, let's see, I don't know. Who would I choose to be my favorite cartoon character? I honestly don't have one. That's a good question. Let's see.
You like Looney Tunes any? Like Tweety Bird, Sylvester,
Yeah, I mean, and I watch cartoons. That's the crazy thing. I mean, I grew up watching cartoons, but I don't think I've had a favorite like cartoon character. I used to love watching like DuckTales and stuff like that. So I mean,
DuckTales. Ooh, yeah. DuckTales, but Scooby-Doo is the ultimate. So we could just make Scooby-Doo your favorite because
that's fine.
All right. Did I miss anybody else on the call? I remember somebody I couldn't get unmuted, but was it Whitney?
I don't know if Whitney went. Whitney, are you able to come off me? She may not be able to.
It's okay. I just wanted to make sure I did not miss anybody. So I'm going to go and thank you all so much. Again, that resource is called Wheel of Names. Just go to wheelofnames.com, completely free. And then you can create different wheels there. You can also save them and everything else and go back to them later. So that is that. And in theory, I am going to easily switch back to the PowerPoint presentation. Let's see. New share. And share. Are we back to the PowerPoint presentation? Yay! Okay, it's a good Tuesday morning, whatever day it is. So we've gone through all of this. All right, so now that we kind of know what's going on now, I just want to go through, it's a warm-up activity that I will have you all do together. We're gonna go actually into breakout rooms and do this. And we're gonna come back and we're gonna debrief on it afterwards. But in this one, oops, let's see. It's not letting me advance. I'll tell you what, we'll come back to that one because I'm gonna do it after we go through all of this stuff. So first, I want to go over some objectives with us today. So today we want to make sure that you all can define what responsibility in leadership within the larger SEL framework is, and then also be able to really explore some of those best practices that identify ways that youth can build capacity for responsibility in leadership. Also, how to utilize the skills and how we support our youth in understanding how to incorporate whatever their interests and strengths and leadership styles, how that influences the relationships and the group dynamics, how to apply techniques that encourage youth ownership and accountability and decision-making over tasks, and also how to model skills that build clarity of roles and responsibilities among youth. As far as our agenda for today, we did our welcome and setting the stage. We are going to do an opening activity. And the way this works, it'll just kind of like lead us into what our essential ideas and practices are, our application, implementation, and then closing and reflection. If you see me over here wiping my eyes, I'm not crying. My allergies are just really saying I am here today. My pollen is here to stay. And then we will always finish out with a closing and reflection piece. As far as housekeeping, please take care of your needs as they come up. I know we are in a virtual posture, so it is okay if you need to get up, walk away, come back. Just make sure that when you come back that you are engaged with us. For materials, Antonio has sent this out, but he's also dropped it in the chat a couple of times. That is the participant workbook. It's a PDF. So I do ask that you keep that handy throughout because we will need to use it for several activities. This will not, especially this workshop is very hands-on. So it'll be a lot of group work, a lot of break-offs, some expert group stuff going on. So since this is so interactive, we do ask that you keep the materials pretty handy, that participant workbook. Also, as far as mute and cameras, please keep yourself muted if you're not speaking, but it's informal. So at any time you want to come off of mute, ask a question, come off of mute, make a comment, please feel free to do so. Cameras are completely optional. If you feel like you want to come on camera with me, please join me. But if not, it is absolutely not required. The only thing I ask as far as the mute and the cameras or whatever, when you do go into your breakout rooms, I do ask that you at least try to come off of mute so that you can engage in the conversation. If you're having any kind of technical difficulties, make sure that you're communicating with your breakout group through chat at least so they know what is going on. And as far as participation, again, this is a very much an interactive workshop. So I will give you some content, but you will take that content and really break it down for implementation as far as how it works for your organization or how you interact with youth on a daily basis. So we just ask that you stay, that you participate throughout. These are our group agreements that we like to go over before every workshop. We know that learning is social, emotional, and cognitive. So when we say that learning is social, we will be learning from one another as a community. When we talk about the emotional piece, we honor the emotions that we bring into this space as we engage in learning. And as far as it being cognitive, we focus our attention and fully engage our mind. So we also want to recognize life experiences, bias, racism, geography, cultural backgrounds, age, gender, et cetera, can also affect our learning experiences today. So we recognize that up front. All right, so we're going to do this for an opening activity, and you all will go into breakout rooms shortly. So when you're prompted, I want you to go ahead and join your group. And this is what you're going to be doing. You are planning a youth day out with 15 students. Requirements. Your budget is $1,000. At least one activity you do has to be educational. At least one activity has to be active. And one activity must allow students to take home a tangible item. Some things to note: half the students are lactose intolerant. One student is airborne allergic to peanuts. And also you must have, whatever this activity is, must take the span of 8 hours. So it could be 8 hours long, but that also includes food and breaks and everything else. The good thing is that transportation has been donated by a community partner, so that does not suck up your $1,000 from the start. So don't have to worry about transportation because your community is holding you down. They have you on that. So what you're going to do is you're going to go away and come up with a full schedule and budget for the day. You have 10 minutes to do so in your breakout groups. But when you come back, I am going to have you share out with the group. So I am going to, how many is it? 13. Let's see. We are going to go into 3 groups. Again, I'm going to have you in there for 10 minutes. I'm just putting that on there. And if you all can come up with a budget. Again, budget is a budget and the schedule for the day. Budget $1,000, 8 hours, one activity educational, one activity must be active, and they have to take some kind of tangible item back home. Are there any questions before I put you all into your groups?
I have a question.
Go for it.
What is the, you said youth, what's the, like the age demographic? How old are the students?
However old you, whatever age group that you want to plan for. So if you want to do something for 5 and 6 year olds, or you want to do something for teenagers, that is up to your group as well. All right. Any other questions? That's a good question.
Are there any learning goals for the group?
There are no learning goals, but you all can come up with that in your plan if you all would like. And that learning goal, of course, can be connected to that educational activity, or could even be connected to the active activity.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Okay, I guess I don't know what airborne allergic to peanuts means.
It means don't go to the circus because if somebody's eating peanuts next to them, they can have an allergic reaction. So it just means they can't,
Even be in close proximity.
in close proximity of peanuts. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I was like, I could probably Google that,
No
but I'll just
problem.
ask it.
Good questions. Good questions. Any other questions? All right. I am going to give you all 10 minutes to come up with this master plan. I will see you all soon.
Recording in progress.
We are all back. We are all good to go. All right. Let's see what kind of plans we came up with. Let's start with room 2, Ashley, Dahlia, and Kenya. What plan did you all come up with?
So we decided to do the Bernheim Forest because we felt like that was something that you could definitely be active. While they're out there, they could plant trees, help with forest preservation, restoration of whatever plants and things. Obviously, you can learn a lot about the stream that's out there. We said Panera Bread, you can actually look up as of 4/5/2023. They have the allergy guide. Nothing is made with peanuts in there. There are some things that have milk products, but you can also, just look at the menu and kind of choose as far as the super salad or whatever. Then we could take home a plant if we wanted to at the end of it. So that's something that you could also like take home, learn more about, plant it in your yard as well.
I'm sorry, I was trying to call from mute. Thank you all. That sounds like a fun field trip. I want to go. And the fact you all did research, you were like, as of 4/2023, Panera Bread is allergy free. I love it. So yeah, so you all got everything. You got the budget, the educational was in the forest, and the good thing is that they can learn through active learning. So it doesn't always mean learning, doesn't always mean being in the classroom and speaking to the youth and giving them information, but actively learning by going around and touching and feeling and experiencing themselves. And it's always that bonus to be able to that plant home at the end as well. Because that also promotes that responsibility and leadership through having to care for this tangible item now that they took home. So that learning continues. Let's go to room 1. That was Ashley, Icy, Laura, and Miss Q.
Okay, am I the spokesperson? I guess.
Sure, why not?
Okay. Okay, so
Why you gonna speak?
that's fine. So for our activity for 15 youth, of course, I plugged my own organization, which is Junior Achievement, where we teach financial literacy. So the students would be with us from 8 to 4. We chose high school, so 9th through 12th graders for the demographic. And what we'll have is like a financial workshop, career exploration for the day, so that students will have some real life application while learning. So fun learning. The students will start at, tell me your organization again.
The Catholic Enrichment Center.
The Catholic Enrichment Center, where they will have career workshops and career exploration, and then they will complete the day at Junior Achievement at our Finance Park simulation. We talked a little bit about like the dietary restrictions that you mentioned. So for breakfast, we'll do like juice, we'll have juice options, we'll have pastries and fruit, and then for lunch we would have salads and Subway, because those will probably not have peanuts, and people can choose to leave off those lactose enriched products. So did I miss something? You can chime in too.
No, that.
Okay, well, that's our day that we planned.
Cool.
Oh, and we picked it because Junior Achievement for our Finance Park is roughly $25 per student to attend, so it works well within the $1,000 budget.
Cool. thank you for sharing. Financial literacy and other life skills like that are invaluable for our youth. I've done this workshop with youth before where I'm like, I'm gonna give you all a budget of $1,000, and just for them to start thinking through and understanding how budgets work and everything else, because they went from, we're going to King's Dominion and we have an Outback for lunch, to, all right, maybe we're going to Six Flags down the street and we're going to have some McDonald's. Because once you start getting those numbers in there and understanding how money actually works, it's invaluable to them. And it's something that a lot of times they don't necessarily get those kind of skills built during the school day, because the school day is so structured and a lot of times it's not in the curriculum. Although I am seeing a lot of states requiring that financial literacy starts getting incorporated into the high school curriculum, at least. So that's a wonderful thing. But to be able to give our youth this experience outside and learn and be hands-on is definitely invaluable. Our last room 3, that would be Jaquita, Mariah, and Whitney. And I'm gonna turn my camera off for a minute just to reset, but you all can go ahead and share.
All right, who do you want me to read it, or Jaquita, do you want to just share a little bit about what we discussed and I can fill in?
However you want to do it.
Okay. Well, our adventure, we called it Mural Madness. Jaquita, do you want to explain like the premise of it?
Yes, we did a mural madness to educate the youth on the different murals within the city.
So we're gonna, 8 hours is a long time, but we're gonna spend the first couple hours just doing a tour of different neighborhoods in the city where there's a lot of murals. And then they can walk, from one mural to another, so that makes it active. And we also allotted a large portion of our budget to actually contracting with some of the mural artists to come out and be there on site when the kids come, so they can kind of explain the mural, answer questions, talk about what they do and what it's like to be an artist. And Whitney was saying, some of our learning goals are just the importance of art, learning about public art as a form of activism and communication. And then after we do our tour, we're going to have an hour for lunch at a park and like playtime. They can burn off some steam. Then we're going to visit another mural after lunch. And then we split the group into 3 groups of 5, and they get the opportunity to plan together and create their own sort of mini mural. And then they spend a while making their mural. And at the end, they kind of share with the other groups, explain what they learned, and kind of how the process was for them. And then they're able to take home supplies to recreate or, make another mural somewhere in their neighborhood or with their friends and family. And we did not talk very much about the things to note, the lactose intolerance and the peanuts. We just decided we would have, drinks, snacks, lunch that's all peanut free and dairy free. So I don't know if I missed anything or if you want to fill in, Jaquita.
I think that covered everything. Thank you.
Cool. Well, thank you all so much. I loved how everyone did that really active learning, that hands-on learning for our youth. Sometimes you got that activity, that active piece of it in there naturally, just moving from place to place. So it's important as we talk about incorporating youth voice and what our youth want to walk away with. These are some of the aspects that we want to consider. So I just wanted to do a little short debrief of the going on the adventure. So when we talk about debriefing, we want to use that ORIT process that we have used in past training. So that's just the objective, the reflective, the interpretive, and the decisional, to make sure that we touch on everything as we go back and we reflect. So So when we talk about having that objective piece of reflection, we want to make sure that we go back and we unpack the experience. So that would be questions such as, what just happened in activity? What difficulties did you face as a group? So are there any difficulties that you all faced as you were planning this budget out or planning this trip out for our youth?
I would say lack of sufficient time to adequately plan.
Come on, 10 minutes isn't enough time to plan a whole trip for you.
I don't know. Our 10 minutes must have gone a lot faster than everyone else.
That is definitely a difficulty that you all should have faced. The fact that you all came up with the age group, where you all were going and everything within the 10 minutes, that was pretty impressive. Were there any other difficulties that you all ran into? And if not, that is okay. Go ahead, Icy. No.
I'm not sure.
You know what? Because I scrolled over your name. I thought you were unmuting. Go ahead, Laura. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure it was difficult, but it did take us a minute to think. I mean, because that was so wide open. Like, okay, are we talking okay through 12? I mean, because like junior achievement goes up to age 25. So but it took a minute to like, okay, what age group do we want to work with and what's the purpose? So yeah, that was kind of the challenging part. And then from there, everybody had great ideas about how to address it.
Yeah. So that's
I
another
think
thing.
it
too.
was-
As we go through, we want to make sure that the level of challenge that we are giving our youth as we have them plan stuff, making sure that we are giving them enough structure so that it's not so ambiguous that they don't really know which direction to go in, but also making sure that we leave it open for choice. So we want to make sure that we leave it wide open for them to make different choices as they're planning and as they're taking on leadership and responsibility. But we also want to make sure that we are giving them some kind of structure so it's not so ambiguous that it's like, you know what, forget it. I don't even want to do it. Somebody else was going to say something?
I was gonna say, it was just kind of hard to think of things to do without asking a child who is going to participate, like just to say, this is what I think you should be doing.
That's very, very good point. It had no kind of youth voice in it whatsoever, but the idea is that if we were to do this in an actual setting, that we bring some youth representatives in as we plan it out. Or we have our youth do this plan themselves. All right, youth, you all have a budget of $1,000. What are we going to do with that $1,000? We have 8 hours. We have transportation. Don't worry about it. Plan out what you want and then have each group present it back to the group as well and get some feedback. So yes, I appreciate you pointing that out, that there was no kind of youth voice in it whatsoever. We're just kind of telling them what we want to do. And of course, that never works out because sometimes we come with this big, bright, beautiful plan, like, oh, they're gonna love it, and it falls flat because it just doesn't speak to them directly. So it is definitely extremely important that we start incorporating youth voice into everything that we do. Did anyone else have anything to say on this before we move to the next section?
I would say for us, we definitely thought about allergies. I know myself, I deal with a lot of allergies, of course, being outside, that is a big deal. And then also inclement weather. You don't know if it's going to be that day. And if you decide to be outside all day, then it's like that kind of ruins the plans. So yeah.
For sure, yes. So being outside, weather aside, even just the allergies of those youth or our staff members that cannot be outside for more than 10 minutes, especially this time of year where pollen is just literally sitting on top of everything. I am allergic to my own car right now because there's so much pollen and you wash it and then 24 hours later, the disrespectful pollen comes back and covers your car again. So yes, those are also some real considerations to take into account. And I think even as youth workers and everything, we're like, oh, it's a beautiful time of the year. It feels so nice outside. Let's be outside. But there's also considerations to come in when it comes to being outside. And of course, if it rains, that completely ruins our plans as well. So anybody else have anything to give? All right. So I appreciate all of that. We are going to move on to our essential ideas and practices. So here we are just going to go through some of the content of what's in your workbooks, and this will be on pages 4 through 7. You don't have to reference your workbooks right now because we are actually going to go into it a little bit more in depth when you all go back into your groups again. So let's go here. Boom. Responsibility is disposition and abilities to reliably meet commitments and fulfill obligations of challenging roles. So that's just the definition of responsibility. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are instilling this responsibility and leadership within our youth. So we know that responsibility can emerge when youth have those opportunities to take on those difficult social obligations, right? So increasingly difficult. So we want to make sure that we are giving them those leadership skills in order to be responsible and create some kind of accountability within our youth. So when it comes to the key youth experiences, when it comes to responsibility, there are the roles, the demands, and the accomplishments. So when it comes to the roles, these are the ones like the roles that the youth take on when it comes to program activities. So youth may choose to accept roles, whether it be something small. So for our younger youth, they may take on the role of being the line leader or making sure our arts and crafts corner has everything organized and put away. So they may take some roles, and in some case, they may even initiate some of the roles. So we can assign roles to our younger youth. When it comes to our older youth, we may give them something that has a little bit more responsibility in the role. So we may have, you know, our youth to youth mentors. So I may have my 7th grade leader go into my 3rd grade classroom and help with some kind of leadership there. So it's all about what kind of roles they want to take on and what is appropriate for their age level. When it comes to demands, making sure that our youth can encounter and know how to work around what those difficult demands are of whatever role they have taken on. So as they take on these roles, they are encountering like those demands and the requirements and the obligations, and making sure that they understand what is their action going to be in relation to whatever those demands are, and how do their actions impact themselves, how do their actions impact their peers, and how do they others. So understanding first is them understanding what their role is. Second would be them understanding what the demands of the role are and how to react to whatever gets thrown at them as they take on this responsible role. And the third piece is that accomplishment. So making sure that they fulfill challenging roles and internalize accomplishments. So we are recognizing their accomplishments along the way and understanding what it looks like to be successful in whatever role that is. So that was what it looked like from our youth point of view. But when it comes to staff practices and giving youth that responsibility and that leadership, we must look at these 3 things. So we want to make sure that we focus on this because these are 3 things that you will focus on as you go into your breakout groups. So first, staff practices is structure. Then there is modeling. And then there is coaching. So with structure, this is where staff really provide that structure, but open-ended roles for you. So making sure that, again, we are not just showing up, like you all said, just showing up and saying, this is what we're doing, here we are. We're incorporating some kind of youth voice into it, but also giving them some kind of structure so it's not so ambiguous that they don't really understand how to take on that role or how to even lead that particular role. Then there is modeling. So staff model and fulfill their own roles. So we want to make sure that there is some kind of modeling going on for our youth, understanding how to fulfill whatever role they're in. And then there is the coaching. So how staff promotes those high expectations and respects youth ownership of their roles and provide help only as needed. So that's that partnership with with youth. So we want to make sure it's staff and youth partnership, and making sure that sometimes that adultism comes in, where we just kind of want to take over and tell them what to do and just kind of lead them in the right direction. But we want to make sure that we are really working side by side with them, instead of pushing them in whatever direction we want them to go. And here is something, just a short snippet. So those leadership opportunities for youth that we can do is like peer mentoring, coaching, or teaching. So those are some leadership opportunities that our youth can walk into. They can also lead a discussion or activity for the day. So if we're going to do something for the day, I don't necessarily need to lead it. I'm gonna have my youth lead it, because I have modeled how to lead an activity or how to lead a discussion. And now I am letting the youth take on that role. Or another leadership opportunity is to plan and implement an event. So that is some other stuff that we can do. So just like we said, we had the $1,000 budget and you all kind of went away and came up with it yourself. Those student leaders can step into those and plan those events, or plan that dance, or plan that end of the year celebration. Those are some leadership opportunities for you. And this says, what else? And this is just a self-reflective takeaway kind of question. What are some other opportunities that we can give to our youth? It is 11:06. I do want to respect your time, and what else? Everything else. We are still going to end at 12, but I do want to give you all a 5-minute break to kind of step away and reset and come back and just kind of reflect on that question. And we're going to come back and we're going to break into some breakout rooms a couple times, and then we're going to wrap it up. So it is 11:06. I will see you all in 5 minutes. So 12:01. No, not 12:01. 11:06 plus 5, 11:11. I know, I'm trying to jump ahead. Too much math in the morning. 11:11. I'll see you in 5 minutes. That's okay. We are back. Hopefully you all had a good little stretch, and we can just get through this less than an hour left. So now I just want to do the Youth at the Center practice activity, and this is going to be on page 10 in your workbooks, and I'm going to give you all groups of more than 5, actually. So I mean more than 2. It's not going to be pairs. We are going to go back into our breakout groups. I am going to ask that you do have the workbook handy as you go into your breakout group, because I am going to assign you a scenario. So what you're going to do is go on page 10. If you are in room number 1, you're going to do number 1 on page 10. If you are in room number 2, you'll do number 2. And if you're in room number 3, you will do number 3. So what I do is I'm going to ask you to read the scenario. And just like at the top, I want you to think about specific ways that you can structure, model, or coach to support the youth in these different situations. So you're going to go and discuss about how you can support youth in these particular situations. With these, you're going to have even less than 10 minutes. You'll have 7 minutes just to kind of have this open discussion. We're going to come back. We're going to share out. Then we're going to go into expert groups to talk more about that structure and that coaching and that modeling. And then we're going to do a reflective piece afterwards. So again, with this, whatever room number you're in, do that particular situation in your workbook on page 10. Are there any questions before I let you go into your groups? All right, I will see you soon. All right, we are back. So now we are going into those different scenarios on how we can promote that responsibility and leadership within our youth. But we wanted to make sure we focused on structure and modeling and coaching. So with that being said, let's start. I am going to have each group share out whatever you all discussed. If you all just give us a brief synopsis of what your scenario was and what you all discussed in your room. So I will start with room number 3. So that was Jaquita, Christina, and Mariah.
How did I know you were going to choose us first? Okay, so our scenario was you have some older youth in the program, but mostly really young youth. The older youth feel that everything you do is too babyish. So we discussed a few options. I think Rita and Christina want to fill in a little bit what we discussed. Maybe.
Sure, yeah. Sorry, I'm getting my video on here, sorry. So we said for the opportunities for leadership and responsibilities for the older youth is have them brainstorm some ideas that they would want and lessons that they would want to be involved with and teach. And with that brainstorming session, the teachers or coordinators could help model if they weren't for sure on how to teach a specific idea or lesson and coach them through that to give them that praise and that positive praise. Let's see, what else did we say? Ladies, what else did we say with that?
That the older youth could be mentors for the younger youth, kind of giving them their perspective on the different topics that may arise or the different activities that they propose. Just kind of be, and then train them to lead groups if need be. Just kind of give them a more hands-on role responsibility.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
Yeah, we
right.
talked about the older youth could kind of like lead a game for the younger kids, and so take on the leadership role.
Absolutely. So all of those things are definitely something we could do. Sometimes we do see this very same scenario where we have older youth in with younger youth, and it's hard to really find an activity that is conducive to both age groups. So letting those older youth kind of lead the younger youth in whatever activity that is, then they don't feel so much like you're making me play Ring Around the Rosie or whatever it is. But more so I am leading this and I have some kind of accountability here. They need me here at the program because if I'm not here, who's going to lead this younger group of mentors? I mean, this younger group of youth. I'm mentoring them. They look up to me. And for our younger youth, that means a lot as well, right? Sometimes we may tell youth the same thing over and over again, and it takes just a peer of theirs or another youth that they can relate to a little bit better. They can say the same thing, and all of a sudden our youth will get it, or all of a sudden our youth will relate to it, just because they can relate more to a youth that they see that's just a few years older than them than they are to adults sometimes. So it's important to have that exposure for them as well. Awesome, room 3. I'm gonna jump to room 1. Laura and Miss Q. What did you all discuss?
Okay, our scenario, each quarter you come up with a list of clubs and activities for the youth to do in your program based on what you've heard them say they like. So we came up with doing like a youth survey with the youth in the program. And through that survey, essentially come up with a youth council. With that youth council, maybe picking like 4 youth to help with the planning process of activities and clubs. And then once they've done activity or a club, once that has been completed, they would do like an ending survey of like how that was as far as like their participation in leadership, how they felt like it ran from both sides, from the adult side and from the youth side, things like that.
Because Miss Q's organization does a summer camp, and we were talking about, well, they like to get youth input, like not just to offer these workshops or these sessions, but to make sure that it's something that kids are interested in. And that was kind of the starting point from that.
All right, thank you. But I do like how you all really had that reflective piece in there at the end as well. It's important that we are providing these leadership and responsibility for our youth, but it's always important to go on that plan, do, assess cycle, right? So we're having our youth plan, they're leading, but we want to make sure that we do take that moment to have that reflective piece to see what really worked, what didn't work, and we don't want to just do that on our own, making sure we are incorporating youth voice into that reflection as well. So what worked for you all? What can change? What can we do differently next time? So I do appreciate that you all really incorporated that part into it as well. Room number 2, Dahlia and Kenya. What did you all talk about in your room?
Can you hear me? Okay, well, unfortunately, we failed this activity. We weren't able to, we had issues, it was 3 of us. We had issues with pulling up the activity on the with the resource guide. We couldn't pull up the book.
Gotcha. Okay. If you all need the book, it's and we can do this later. We did enough to go through the activity, so that is totally okay. But if you do need the workbook again, just put a note in the chat and Antonio can share it again so that you all can have access to it.
Yeah, we didn't have it in our breakout session for some reason. We actually were awaiting you, thinking you all was going to send it to us like you did the last one.
Oh yeah, so it's the same
we-
workbook that we used for the last activity. It's in the chat, and I think Antonio may have emailed it as well, but that is okay. We will share it again in the chat for you. Antonio just shared it again in the chat, so just click on it, and that way you can just have it handy for anything else we do today.
It's crazy. Okay, thank you. We couldn't navigate it. It was some issue. We couldn't go back. See,
It should be a PDF that will just open up on your computer, and you can just have open in the background. It's
yeah, I opened it up like now, but I couldn't navigate to it. Like right now that I got the workbook up, right? It's kicked me out of Zoom, but I know to go back to Zoom and put back up and see everybody. However, when the breakout session is different.
Got you. Are you on a computer or on your phone?
I'm on a laptop on my computer.
Okay. So it should be able to navigate, but if not, I'll make sure that I reshare it when you all go to the breakout room.
Which is weird because I haven't, well, I had it before, but it was fixed, but I couldn't do it this time.
Okay, no problem. I'll make sure I reshare it too when you all go into your breakout groups in case it doesn't transfer over there for you all.
That'll help. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. No problem at all. Technology is not always our best friend, so it is okay. This is just a self-reflective piece, and I always like to give you all just kind of a couple minutes to kind of self-reflect, and it has a reflection question as well. On page 12 in your workbooks, what is at least one way you already successfully implementing leadership and responsibility in your program? So it is 11:29. I just want to give you 3 minutes of self-reflection to think about this. Feel free to jot it in your workbooks if you want to, or jot it down somewhere, but just think about this question. What is at least one way you already successfully implementing leadership and responsibility in your program? So it's 11:30. At 11:33, we're going to come back and go to the next part. So this is just self-reflection. All right, we are back. Hopefully you all had time to just kind of think through and process what we've been going over so far as promoting that responsibility in leadership with our youth. We're going to move into our next section now, which is that application piece of it. So we talked about promoting that responsibility and leadership and having those three things. So that structure, that modeling, and that coaching. So we want to look at that structure, modeling, and coaching, how it relates to the three things that we talked about as far as how staff drive the responsibility and leadership. So roles, demands, and accomplishments. So I am going to ask you all to have your workbooks handy again. And again, when you go into the other group, I'm gonna try to broadcast it so that I can share that link out for that workbook again, in case you don't have the access to it. So when you go in there, if you're in room number 1, you are gonna do roles. So again, group number 1, roles. And that can be found on page 4 through 5. So if you're in group number 1 and break out room number 1, you're going to work on roles, which can be found on page 4 through 5. So this is where it'll say youth take on roles and obligations. So when we talk about roles, we want to talk about what does structure look like, what does modeling look like, and what does coaching look like when it comes to roles. So youth take on roles and obligations, which is page 4, breakout room number 1. Breakout room number 2, you will work on demands and become expert groups on demands. So those youth encounter demands, page 5, it'll say youth encounter demands, read that section. Room number 3, you will work on accomplishments. So this is where youth draw on resources and internalize accomplishments. So that's page 6. So again, room number 1, you're going to work on roles. You're going to read that section that says you take on roles and obligations. Read that section and discuss how you notice how structure, modeling, and coaching is incorporated into that. Demands is going to be room number 2, and accomplishment is going to be room number 3. So roles can be found on page 4. Demands section, which says youth encounter demands, can be found on page number 5 in your workbook. And the accomplishment part, youth draw on resources and internalize accomplishment, can be found on page number 6, and that's going to be my room number 3. I am going to put you all into into these rooms. And once you go into the rooms, I just want you all to discuss what structure, modeling, and coaching looks like for your particular section. Are there any questions before I put you all into your rooms for about 10 minutes? All right, so you all will go into your rooms for 10 minutes. You all will take a few minutes to read through whatever section that you have, and then discuss structure, modeling, and coaching, and we'll come back and discuss what that looks like. I am going to put you all in there starting now.
Will we
All
see?
right, welcome back, everyone. Hopefully you all, I know 10 minutes is not a long time at all, especially when it comes to discussing some of these topics. But if we could go ahead and go through and talk about what you all discussed. Hopefully, I'm going to try to share the PowerPoint again. Hopefully you all will see the PowerPoint again. Room number 1, let's talk about roles. How do youth take on roles and obligations? What did you all discuss there?
What we talked about is we used the scenario that we'd used earlier about the summer program. About, how there would be student leaders that would take on the different areas of what's being taught. So we talked about how you'd work with them is let them define what they think their roles and responsibilities are. But that whole time, no, because I've worked with teenagers and I love working with teenagers, but sometimes they don't have enough life skills to realize some of the stuff that needs to be covered. And one of the things that Ms. Q and I talked about was like attendance, for them to understand if you're a leader, you have to show up every day so that we would know that that's something that's like one of our baseline things that they need to cover. And if they don't bring it up, then we bring it up. So we think the structure, so there is some loose structure there, if that makes sense, that we give them the freedom to create their roles, but then we also have the structure of like, look, you need to have certain things covered, some baseline things that get covered. And we would coach them. And that's kind of, and the modeling, I can't remember, I'm sorry, my dogs are playing, it's really distracting. Please pardon me. But we would be modeling like how to set that up. And then the coaching would be like, if they don't think of some of these things, if we bring it up and bring it to them, then that would be our part of coaching. I think I covered those correctly.
Oh, thank you.
Does that make sense?
It makes total sense to me.
Okay.
But I do like how you all in the beginning said, number one is just showing up, and attendance is very important when it comes to taking on these leadership roles and taking on these responsibility roles. One of the things that we say needs to be present when making a high quality programming is to create that responsibility, autonomy, but also being able to practice those group processing skills. So making sure that our youth have these interdependent roles where we say, hey, if you are not here, the group as a whole cannot accomplish anything. Or if you are not here, leadership, this, whatever you were in charge of, whatever you took accountability for, or whatever you took that responsibility for, it can't happen and it impacts the entire group. So how do your individual actions impact the whole? So attendance, of course, is extremely important when it comes to that. Our next group, demands, youth encounter demands. What did you all discuss in that group? And I tried to share out the workbook. It would not let me broadcast it, so I just kind of shared my screen. So hopefully that you, my group 2, had a little bit of access to what was there at least.
Oh yeah, we were able to see it. So we were thinking about, we had this group of 6 youth, and they like kind of give all the responsibility to one person because he was like good talking with people, but he wasn't good like getting organized and like participating in meetings and things like that. So we thought about a different structure where we have a board with 3 members, and like the other 3 members are like a support to them. And in that way, other students that thought they weren't going to be good leaders because they are quiet have like a big responsibility too, and they know they can do it. So in the modeling part, we as adults are like the role models for the kids. So we can work in more skills that like help them to stay more organized. Like, for example, teaching this kid that doesn't attend meetings or doesn't know how to be organized, to give him tools, or the others. For example, like a calendar that he can like look at and don't miss meetings or things like that.
All right, thank you. Definitely when we talk about the demands and how to meet how youth can meet the demands of whatever roles or positions they are taking on, that organization piece is huge. Like, what does organization even look like? How do I organize my thoughts? How do I organize what my role in this particular thing is? So that is very important that you all really focused on that, handing off those skills, but also recognizing that taking on these leadership skills or taking on these responsibilities, it doesn't always have to be the loudest one in the group, or doesn't always have to be the one that volunteers to take on stuff. You don't have to necessarily be that extroverted student in order to take on those roles and responsibilities, and understanding that our youth learn in so many different ways, that whether you are interpersonal or intrapersonal type person, you can take on responsibility roles. So you may not take on the responsibility of standing in front of the classroom and presenting, or standing in front of the classroom and leading an activity in that way. You may take on a leadership role or a responsibility in a different way, but understanding that it doesn't necessarily always have to be the person that is the most vocal in the class. So I appreciate you all pointing that out as well. My accomplishment group, youth draw on resources and internalize accomplishment. What did you all discuss in your rooms?
Well, we discussed a lot of different things, but one thing we discussed was it talks about how youth need to draw on resources to fortify their resolve in the face of hardship. And it gave some examples, like it said, some youth draw on inner strength, you know, with things like, I'm not a quitter, or my mom taught me to always finish everything I start. So one thing we discussed was maybe having an activity together where they can brainstorm what are those things that you can tell yourself, or that you do tell yourself when you're doing something and it feels really tough and you're trying to get through it, but you're feeling like you just want to quit, or yeah. So, and then we talked about, then they could, after they come up with a big list, you know, they could decorate it and we could post it in the after school program and they could refer to it. And I guess modeling would be staff also, you know, verbalizing when they're having trouble, you know, saying out loud, gosh, I'm really feeling like this is a hard task, and we're, you know, I don't know, saying that they're struggling, and then maybe even going to the thing and saying, I'm going to draw on this and I'm going to use this quote right now because that helps me push through, or take a break and then come back to it. So that's one thing we talked about.
Yeah, and we and also just with the examples that they gave, you know, with the youth, that I have a responsibility not only to myself but to everyone else, and I agreed to do this as a team. So just kind of modeling and coaching each other to get through whatever task or activity that they have, and being, you know, supportive. It says knowing that other people are relying on you to show up to a specific thing has definitely helped with the responsibility. And so just kind of giving that support to the other youth that are involved, and just helping them feeling accomplished and supporting them to get, you know, to the goal, or to complete the task.
Absolutely. It is all of that. Promoting everything that you all, excuse me, spoke about in order to really achieve that goal, and having youth really understand everything that goes into achieving that particular goal. So all the different components, and leadership and responsibility is not just about having that title, but understanding what comes with that title when it comes down to it. So thank you all for all of that. That workbook is a really good resource. It has all of that information, but it also has some reflective questions and everything else. So here is another reflective question that, as we go through, you all can just take a minute personally to think about this. What is one simple way you could promote more responsibility and leadership in your program? So I will give you all a minute to kind of self-process this question. Just take 1 minute. All right, so this is just, again, this is just a self-reflective question. I just want to give you all some tools to walk away with at this point, because we went through what those roles and responsibilities are, and how can we really start incorporating more youth voice through responsibility and leadership in your program. Another thing I want to share with you all is in the implementation, take it back part. So when you take it back, I just want to give you all some quote unquote homework to kind of walk away with and take back. So that would be on page 11. in your workbook. So at the top of page 11, I just want to make sure I give you the right title. It says taking it back. So how to create that structure, that modeling, that coaching. It gives you a really nice snapshot at the top. And then it takes you through 3 different prompts to kind of figure out how do we implement more accountability and responsibility and leadership through youth in our programming. So this is just one template that you can take back and take back all the pieces that we discussed today and how it relates to the way you work with youth on a daily basis. So that's your take it back homework piece of it all. And I will go to closing and reflection. So with closing and reflection, I just want you all to think about this statement, and feel free to come off of mute and fill in the blanks if you want to, or put it in the chat. And that is, complete this sentence. I will blank so that young people blank. So whatever, however you want to fill that in, you can relate it back to that leadership, responsibility, accountability piece that we've been talking about with youth all day, or you can just think about it in general. So again, feel free to complete that sentence in the chat, or if you feel like it, come on off of mute and share with the group. So I'm gonna give you all a minute to do that, and then I'm gonna kick it over to Antonio for the evaluation and whatever closeout pieces he has for us. Okay, Kenya said, remain dedicated so that young people can grow and break cycles. I love that, breaking the cycle. Cycle Breakers Breaking Chains, Inc. I love it. Let's break the cycle. Let's go into this new way of learning. We are at that pivotal generation where it's no longer kids are seen and not heard, or whatever we said back in the day. We want to see you. We want to hear you. We want you to be present. So let's break those cycles for sure. In respect of your time, I do want you all to continue to share in the chat. It says, I will learn so that young people can learn. Yes, continue learning. We have not stopped learning. We must continue to build our skill set for all of our youth. I will continue to attend awesome youth programming, PD. Hopefully you're talking about this one, so that young people can enjoy high quality OST programming. Thank you for that last piece, Mariah, such as this one. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Just go ahead, continue. Feel free to share in the chat, come off of mute if you would like. But with that, Antonio, I'm going to kick it back over to you because I want to make sure I'm respectful of you all's time. We have reached the end, but it has been great working with you all over the past few months, and I hope to see you all next year.
Yes, thank you so much, Renee. As always, it has been a pleasure. Thank you, everybody who has joined us today. There was a lot to take away and a lot to implement at our sites. And so hopefully this has been as great for you as it has been for me. You know, we always want to offer high quality trainings and workshops so that you all can serve your young people to the highest capacity that you can. In the chat, I put the survey. I am almost at 100 responses. So if you all can please fill out the survey so that we know how to best serve you all and give us ideas of what you would like to see for the next program year. Our program year does end this month. We go August to May. We coincide with the school year, and we will start up again in August. So thank you all so much. Again, in May 25th, we will have our end of the year convening with all of our partners. So you will be getting an invite to that here soon. And if not you, then whoever is like your program director or is on our list that we have. So just be on the lookout for that. But please have a great rest of your day and have a great week, and happy Derby this weekend. Have a great week. Thank you all.